Okay, so many of you must be preparing for ICAR, JRF, SRF, NET agronomy, right? So, as we know that the pattern of ICAR, JRF exam as well as SRF exam has been changed. I had written ICAR, JRF in 2016, and from 16 till 21st 2021. So the paper pattern has been changed, and there is lot of introduction, and we can see that the today's examination pattern or the paper, we can say it is more conceptual. It is not like we have to just study or mug up the things and we can give our exam. No, it is not like that. It is very conceptual based. And so today I'll just give you a little brief knowledge about what all to be covered if you are preparing for ICAR, JRF and SRF. All right, so as we know that these are the important subject, that is agronomy, soil science, physiology, agri-stat, and then the general agriculture. This is as a part of ICAR, JRF here. So when it comes to agronomy, so what is the important topic you have to cover in agronomy for JRF? So that is principles of agronomy. We will find the basic and what you say, the mother of agronomy, we can call the book. So I'll give the references as well. And then the organic farming, precision farming, integrated farming system, and then the field crops, we have kharif, rabi, fodder crops, commercial crops, right? And then the weed management, water management, dryland agriculture, and sustainable land use management. And in this again, sustainable land use management, again we come across so much of remote sensing, zero tillage, and the new technologies what all have been introduced in agriculture. We can all find in that. And in the books, we traditionally we follow few books, right, for preparation. But in those books, no, we do not find much of the information about say like remote sensing or any other topic that is like say this sustainable land use management or zero tillage or precision agriculture. So many questions nowadays we can find about precision agriculture, introduction of drone into agriculture. So many questions we can find. The paper is just not like traditional JRF as of now. It has been changed so much and concepts are being asked nowadays. And coming to soil science part, we have the soil fertility and fertilizer use, and then crop nutrition and their management, and then the problematic soils and their management. This problematic soils and management is more important for agronomic point of view. We usually get questions from problematic soils rather than say any other part of soil science. Okay, and then the soil testing, we have so many testing for say nutrients, different nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. You might have done these experiments in UG or PG, right? Or if you have been working on research right now, then you will be going through so many tests, soil testing, plant testing. So you will be aware of those experiments. So different experiments we have to study, and then what chemicals we use, what is the concentration of the chemical we use, and how do we calculate ppm. All those basic knowledge we have to have from this soil science part. Then the physiology, that is obvious that we will get questions from photosynthesis, respiration, and then basic functions of carbohydrates, proteins, nucleic acids, enzymes, and vitamins. So this is just the basic background what all we have to cover under physiology. Then coming to this agri stats, especially for agronomy, questions will be from designs, experimental design. So those are of more important. And then these basic elements like central tendency and measures of dispersion, these are also important. We also get questions, and we get applied questions from these parts. And also we have different tests like parametric and non-parametric tests like chi-square test, Z test, T test, right? So how these tests are being applied in agronomic experiments. So those examples and applications we have to know from this part of the subject. Now coming to SRF syllabus, I'll just brush up the thing, so don't get bored because of this. So this is the part, I mean, that comes under natural resource management too for SRF. And the pattern has been changed recently, right? We have agri chemicals which is included here. Also we have general knowledge questions for SRF. So this is the part of agronomy what I'm showing right now here. We have to cover ecology, geography, weed management, and rest all things remain just like JRF, with just the application part of all the topics we have to have for this. And then coming for the soil science, we have pedology, physics, chemistry, microbiology, fertility, and then we have this agri chemicals and water science and technology. So since if we are currently if we are preparing for a PhD entrance, then especially for SRF, we have this agri chemicals and water science. So these two subjects we have to be thorough, because agronomy and soil science anyway we will be studying in UG and then also in PG, but this agri chemicals and water science and technology, though we will be studying about irrigation, but it will not be so much of detail, right? So this science, water science and technology, they ask so many numericals as well nowadays. And agricultural chemicals, that is the we can say like most difficult part for SRF preparation. So that is also being included in SRF syllabus. So these two play important role in getting good rank as well. And so now here these are the what you say for reference number of books we have. So you should not have to go through all the textbook, but whatever you are studying, no, be thorough with that concept. Okay, so these are the basic text we usually refer for any of the exam, I mean entrance exam, be it SRF or be it state entrance, right? So principles of agronomy, these all books you might be knowing about, so I do not have to repeat all those things. So if you want, you can just take a screenshot of all these things. And then coming to the SRF portion, I mean the books what you have to study for soil science, that is fundamentals of soil science ISSS, then principle of crop production SRD, then irrigation agronomy, crop nutrition. So again these are the combined list of different books what we have to go through for SRF. And coming to objectives, see students, whenever you are studying these objective textbook, no, you should not have to mug up the things. You should understand these are just for your practice. Don't think that the same questions will be coming in the exam. It's not the same as of today's condition. It is completely different. So these objective books are just for your help, just for your preparation, or to boost up your preparation. These books will be helpful. And the last book, this is agronomy facts for competition. So those who are preparing for ICAR net, so this will also help for preliminary. If last time this ARS was called, also the net was called, and STO post were also called, so the paper was very simple, but scoring in such easy paper also matters a lot. So for that, in such cases, this last book, agronomy facts for competition by Dr. R.S. Meena, this book is really helpful, and it has a vast text about say agronomy, soil science, statistics, physiology, whatever the important subjects we have to cover for our exam, no? So all those topics have been covered in these books. So if you are preparing for net, so you can go through this book as well. And references website, those who are preparing for SRF, so these websites you should be visiting regularly: ICR, IRI, FAO, and then Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and then newspaper. And with all this, you have to be thorough with the current affairs in agriculture. So this is all about I wanted to tell, like if you are preparing right now, so this all you have to refer. Okay, so coming to today's topic, that we will be talking about the major rabi crops, say like wheat, barley, oat, and few minor millets. So wheat, as we all know, this is an important crop, rabi crop or cereal crop in the country. Can anybody tell me what is the difference between a cereal and a millet? Both cereals and millets belong to the same family, Poaceae, right? So can anybody tell me what is the difference between a cereal and a millet? Anyone? Anybody? Okay, I'll keep this questions for last. We'll discuss about what is the difference. All right. So I'll just go through. As we know, cereals and these millets belong to the same family, Poaceae. All right. So first we have to know what is a cereal. So that's why I asked you what is the difference between a cereal and a millet. All right. Let's go here. So this when we talk about the food value of cereal. So as we know, these are rich in carbohydrates, right? So these are rich foods for average carbohydrate content, which is about 70 gram per 100 gram of the grain. Okay, and then protein content, as we know, it is containing about 11.8%, and then whereas in rice we have only 8.5% of a protein, and cereals are deficient in lysine and tryptophan, and pulses are deficient in methionine and cysteine. So these are the amino acids which are essential, and cereals are deficient in this, whereas pulses are deficient in this. So the for again the questions can be asked here as well. Okay, millets are more nutritious than cereals. All right. Can you tell me the difference in terms of morphology of the crop or the seed? Yeah, millets are generally smaller in size than cereals. Okay. What else? What else can you add for these points? How can you differentiate? How can you say, if I say if I'm holding a pearl millet and a sorghum here, they almost look similar, just the color varies. But how do you differentiate them? Okay, you can answer me later. You can think and answer me later. All right. And then these whole cereals are good sources of calcium, iron, but they are devoid, or say they are lacking in ascorbic acid and vitamin A. So this is the basic questions we can find. Okay, we whenever we are studying this crop production, we usually concentrate on the cultivation part, how it is done, what is the spacing, what are the varieties, what is the field preparation, and all those things. But these things also we may find sometimes in the exam, so you have to be thorough with all these. Cereals are deficient in what? I think in one of the JRF paper it was asked, cereals are deficient in. Okay, whenever when you are studying this maize crop, no, there you will find this tryptophan and niacin. We have this quality protein maize and all, no. So just like that, you have to know the basics as well. Just okay. So the wheat, as we know, the botanical name goes like Triticum aestium, which is a hexaploid. And what is the importance of this wheat crop? We know this is widely cultivated food crop in the world, and in India it is second most staple crop, important staple crop, right? So first in our country it is rice, whereas in the world it stands first. So it is mostly eaten in the form of chapatis, and we have bread, flakes, cakes, biscuits, which are made out of different varieties of wheats here. So wheat straw is a good source of feed for cattle, that we already know. And protein content, it varies between 8 to 15%, but an average protein content we can say around 11 to 12% we can find it in wheat. And we have proteins. What are the different proteins we find in wheat? Albumin, globulin, glutinous, and gliadin. So these are the different types of protein we find in wheat. Okay, albumin is soluble in water. Also we have okay, let me just see, what is it? Millets are those crops which aren't required very high inputs. Okay, it survives in the drought condition, very small sized. Okay, all right. Okay, so these all, whatever you are telling, the difference, no, these are all right, but I just wanted to know morphologically. Morphologically means, say in grain, the seed coat. I'm just giving you a hint so you can just remember what is the difference. So the seed coat and the pericarp of the seed in cereal and in millet, it differs a little. So you will have to tell me what is it. Okay, so these are the protein we find in wheat. Okay, and origin, coming to origin, we may find different place of origin in different texts, but I just referred the basic or standard book of crop production technology by Rajendra Prasad. So I believe that that is the most authentic book or the text you can refer for crop production. Okay, so D. Cannell said that Euphrates and Tigris, and Vavelo said that durum wheat was probably from Abyssinia and soft wheat from different parts of Asian continent. All right, so this is the basic origin we can say, or Turkey you may find in many texts for origin of wheat. Okay, so how this hexaploid came up? So we know from diploid that will be tetraploid, from tetraploid it will be a hexaploid. So the combination or the breeding of diploid, it gave the tetraploid, and the breeding of tetraploid gave again this hexaploid. So that's how the triticum aestium has been derived. And coming to area production productivity, so these questions also we may find. So as of now, as of 2020 data, this area under wheat is about 31 million hectare, and production is about, excuse me, it is about 109 million tons, and the productivity is 3.4 ton per hectare. And area production we have more in UP, and but the productivity is high in Punjab. So there is nothing much to explain in this. So let's just jump to classification of wheat. So as we know that we have diploid wheat, tetraploid wheat, and the hexaploid wheat. So based on that ploidy level, we have this classification. So this diploid wheat, that is emmer wheat, which is also called as Triticum monococcum, you may find a different species name in different text as well. So this is mainly grown in the part of Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and all, and this is used for suji preparation. This gives, if we have this mota suji, we say, no, which will be very big, the grains will be very big. So we may find that suji can be prepared out of this emmer wheat. So other than our country, it is grown in Spain, Italy, German and Russia as well. Coming to this macaroni wheat, which is a tetraploid, Triticum durum, it is drought tolerant and it is cultivated in many parts here, Punjab, MP, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and other countries as well, and they are descended from emmer wheat. So as we know that tetraploid, obviously it will be formed from this what do you say, diploid. Then coming to this bread wheat, that is a hexaploid. I'm just taking the important species alone here. So this is presently grown widely in our country. So we know this UP, Punjab, Haryana. So this is the main hub, we can say, for wheat production nowadays. And in India, it was introduced by Dr. Norman Borlaug. And since it was introduced from Mexico, we call it as a Mexican dwarf wheat. So that is also called as a bread wheat. So this is another species, Indian dwarf wheat, which is a wild type, we can say. We do not cultivate it for commercial purpose. This is just a wild type. So Triticum sperococcum, this is also found in limited areas of MP, UP and in some parts of Pakistan as well. So we can see here very short and compact heads having shorter grains. So when we have this ploidy level, no, this diploid level is more drought tolerant than tetraploid and hexaploid, but the what do you say, the yield quality or the grain quality is very poor in case of diploid wheat. Okay, and then coming to the morphology, what are the different growth stages of wheat here? You must be knowing the crown root stage is important, milking stage, but you should be knowing what exactly that stage mean. So pre-established stage stage, it gives the starting stage, right? So pre-emergence means sprouting of the seed, and then the emergence, which gives our seminal roots, radicle and coleoptile. So can anybody tell me what does this seminal root do, and for how many days this seminal root usually stays with the seed? Anyone? Twenty. Are you sure this seminal root stays for 20 days with the seed? Seminal roots are, you can say, temporary roots. Okay, temporary roots, they'll just stay for 1 week with the seed. When the seed sprouts, no, that seed will be having the basic or small temporary roots. We call them as a seminal root. Those are not permanent roots. Okay, so after 1 week, until that seed is developed, or say the endosperm is able to provide nourishment to the seed, only till that the seminal roots will be there. After 1 week they gradually fall off, and then the adventitious roots come up. So this question also you may find in exam, guys. So you should be knowing about what exactly the function of this seminal root is. So these are temporary roots. So when the seed starts growing, the seminal roots come up, and then when it enters the vegetative stage, we call it as a seedling stage, right? So here the root system will be quite larger. So the seminal root starts to fall off, and then the adventitious roots start to come up. So we also have the upper portion of the plant, that is leaf. So first leaf, second leaf, and third leaf will be having. So this I'm explaining a little bit because this remains same for all the cereal crops. Only just that this wheat and barley have the crown roots, whereas rest all other cereals we do not find this crown roots. So what exactly is this crown? You can see this part which is below the soil surface but above the seed. So this portion we call it as a crown. So from here those adventitious roots or the secondary roots will be coming out. So that we call them as a crown root initiation. So this you must have gone through, like 21 days, this is an important stage and all, right? Okay, so this is the important stage, as I told you, crown root stage. This coincides with the 4-leaf stage. All right, so this takes place at 20 to 25 days. Now you can see here, this is a crown root, and from here we have a coleoptile, which is for the shoot system, and then the leaves will be there. Again, tillering is the important part. We can say the development of the leaves here. All right, so those tillering will start after the crown root development here. So this you can see the original plant, coleoptile, node, coleoptile, tillers will be there, leaf will be there, main stem, and then the nodes. Okay, and tillering, so plants develop crown and branches out into tillers from their base at the soil surface. So from crown we can say tillers will start, as well as the roots will be there. And then the next stage is about the jointing. Jointing is just the improvement in the plant height, you can say elongation of the nodes will be there, that is jointing. That takes place between 45 to 60 days. So here you can see the tillering and the jointing, the height of the plant also increasing because of the elongation of the nodes and internodes. And then comes the boot stage. Okay, so before I tell you about this reproductive stage, can anybody tell me where actually the panicle starts growing in the plant when it reaches the flowering stage, or say when it has to flower? From where, which point of the part of the plant this panicle starts growing? Anyone? Okay, boot leaf. Okay, boot leaf is the leaf. Okay. So see, the panicle which has to come out of the plant, no, that will start at the end point, or say near to the soil surface. That will start from the point or near to the soil surface, and then it will push towards the plant, and then it will finally it comes into this flag leaf, and then from there it will flower out. So that's how this was one of the questions sometimes we had I had found in one of the papers there. So this panicle start at the end point, or say starting point of the stem. From there it will push towards the flag leaf. Flag leaf is the last leaf, we can say. Okay, so it will get covered inside the flag leaf, and then it will come out as a flower. So what is this flower or boot means what? This panicle will be inside the boot leaf or flag leaf, we can say. So that will bulge because of the panicle, that will bulge like this. So inside the panicle will be there, and that flag leaf will be covering the panicle. So out of this flag leaf or boot leaf, that will that panicle will come out. So only after coming out, then only this it has to flower. After the flowering only it will start pollinating, and then the grain development will start. So this is the normal process, or the morphological process that takes place in cereal, any of the crop you can take. Okay, so from here we can find this development of heading stage. Heading means the coming out of this panicle out of the leaf. So that takes place between 70 to 85 days. Okay, and then the flowering, that is anthesis, as I told you. So anthesis of florets and fertilization will take place. You can see here anthers will be there. So can anybody tell me what are the number of anthers present in wheat and what are the number of anthers present in rice? Anthers or stamen? Just quickly you can drop a text. Okay, so here you can see this is the last leaf and then the flag leaf will be there. Out of the flag leaf, this will be coming out, this panicle, and these are the awns. You must be knowing all about this. Okay, rice 6. What about wheat? No, only rice is 6. Rest cereals have 3 stamens, guys. Okay, so this is the coming out of the panicle here, boot leaf. Okay, and then the post anthesis stage, what after what do you say, flowering. So then the grain has to fill inside the spikelet, right? So ovaries, after fertilization, they start to form the seeds, and then that will be liquid in nature, and then it turns to milky stage, and then finally it gets soft duff, and then hard duff will be there, and then finally the color of the glooms will change, and then the maturity will take place. So that's how the morphological stages that usually happen. Okay, so here you can see clearly, this is the picture of spike here. So here you can see this node and internodes we have. Okay, this central part of the spike we call it as a rachis, and this is the rachis length, and the node and internode will be there. And here you can see here, this is a spikelet. Okay, single, we call it as a spikelet, and the central line of a single spikelet we call it as a rachilla. Rachis is the central line of the entire panicle, whereas this rachilla is the central line of single spikelet. So this we call it as a mini spike. Okay, and then from which part of the gloom this awn will be coming out, whether the lemma or the palea? Okay, so next let me just brush about the varietal development. So how actually it happened? So we know that in India the weeds which were grown earlier, they were really tall and lodging type. So because of which farmers were really not happy with the crop, and the color and the odor and the taste of the wheat also did not taste really good for the farmers. So what actually they did, they wanted some other good variety, dwarf variety. So that's how this wheat revolution took place in the whole world. So we know that Norrington gene is the important one, which is meant for dwarfing the wheat. So semi-dwarf variety, which was introduced in 1961, and from there 63-64 it was introduced into our country. Okay, so the CIMMET, this is the wheat germ plasm repository. Where this CIMMET is located? CIMMET is located in and ICAR. Where is this ICAR located? Yes, Mexico and Syria. Earlier it was Syria for ICAR. Now it is currently situated in Beirut. Beirut. Okay. The institution has been shifted from this Aleppo, Syria to Beirut. Okay, Lebanon, that is a country, Asian, small part of Middle East, we can say. There it has been shifted. So the CIMMET, it is the institution which carries the germplasm of wheat and maize especially, and ICAR that carries or stores durum germplasm. And then the 63 in 1963-64, these varieties have been introduced in our country. So I'm not talking much about variety here, because varieties, you know, those are just luck based in exam. If we are well aware of, we are lucky enough, we can just get through the variety. Okay, and then coming to the climate, we know that for vegetative part, vegetative growth stages, we have to have a cool and moist during vegetative stage, whereas in during grain formation we have to have warm and dry weather. So that's how it usually takes place, right? We start to grow wheat, or we sow wheat in the month of October, November, maybe sometimes in December as well. So that will be harvested in the month of March and April. So you can just correlate there how actually the condition will be there. And optimum temperature is about 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. It can germinate at temperature just above 4 degrees Celsius. Below 4 degree, wheat crop cannot really grow well. And the vegetative period and grain development, and the minimum water requirement is about 650 to 750 mm. Okay, and coming to the soil requirement, we have well drained loam and clay loams we should have, which should be neutral in reaction. It can be grown well in alphizoles, vertizoles, inseptizoles, mollizoles and eridizoles, and the threshold salinity it can tolerate is about 6 decisiemens per meter. Okay, so this level of salinity also we can find questions, what is the different salinity threshold level for different crops. So this that also you should be thorough with. Okay, and as we know, wheat is a Rabi crop, so obviously that will be usually the land will be prepared after the Kharif crop only. And we know the drudgery between this rice wheat cropping system, so much of problem, and this zero tillage has been introduced, right? So we shall talk about zero tillage. Maybe I have few questions regarding this zero tillage that I'll ask you later. Okay, so this field is prepared by disking, harrowing, and then moderate to fine tilth is required. We know the tilth is the soil condition, right? So that fine soil should be there, and especially in northwestern parts of the country, this zero tillage is followed. All right, and time of sowing, as we know, it starts from last week of October, and we have different durated wheat varieties like short duration, long duration, medium duration. So depending on the variety and depending on the time availability we have, we can choose different varieties. Okay, late sown condition means first week of December usually. And the different methods of sowing which are followed, like broadcasting, zero or no tillage, behind the plow, drilling, dibbling, and this is very important, that is furrow irrigated raised bed system we have, which is really important for wheat cropping. I have few pictures collected here. So this you will be knowing: broadcasting, zero tillage, sowing behind the plow, dibbling, and this is furrow irrigated raised bed, right? Furrows are meant for irrigation and raised bed for the wheat crops. So 2 to 3 rows crops will be on the bed, and that furrow will be used for irrigating. So seed rate, when in normal condition we have about 100 to 125 kg per hectare. It can be increased, seed rate can be increased when under late sown, when the soil moisture is really less. So broadcasting requires about 150 kg, and for dibbling we have less, 25 to 30 kg, and for furrow irrigated we have about say 75 kg per hectare. If it is a zero tilled sown, then we need at least 100 kg per hectare. So this different seed rates and the conditions, we must be thorough enough with that. And the spacing, irrigated wheat, we have this 22.5 centimeter, which is we can say that that is given in the text, but usually farmers follow about say 20. Sorry,
नाही मी आता सध्या थोडा वेळ बघतो जायचं.
Sunil, can you mute yourself, please?
Hello, Gule. Please mute the participant who is talking.
Okay. Okay.
Let's continue, ma'am.
Yes. So irrigated wheat and this rain-fed wheat spacing you can remember, and you should know why this rain-fed wheat is having more spacing when compared to irrigated wheat, right? And delayed sowing, what is the spacing we follow, and seeding depth. So these are also the basic questions we usually find in exam. And when it comes to irrigation, as we know that wheat crop requires at least 650 to 750 mm. So 4 to 6 irrigations are required. So number of irrigations, say like crown root initiation, if we have only water which is enough for one irrigation, then we have to provide water at during this stage, crown root initiation. If we have water for 2 irrigation, then crown root initiation and late jointing, and similarly it depends on the amount of water we have. So like that we can follow. And coming to nutrient management, as we know, so the basic principle is to give FYM first and then the rest of the nutrients here. So if it is timely sown, then 120, 60, 40 kg per hectare. that is the recommended one. If it is late sown, this 80-40-40. So why I'm not stressing much on this nutrient part, this varies from region to region. We cannot say if this is followed in Maharashtra, this is not the same in case of Karnataka. It changes accordingly, right? So this nutrient ratios, no, it is not that you have to mug up. You just remember the basic ratio, like if it has to follow, it has to be followed like 4:2:1 for cereals, and for pulses 1:2:1. So like that, if you remember, even in exam, if at all, if it is asked something like that, you can just guess the answers. It is not like it will remain same for the entire country. Okay, when it is timely sown, we usually go for 50% of nitrogen and 100% of pk basally, and then the rest during first irrigation or the important stage, we can say. If it is late sown, then 80-40-40 we have. So 50% and 100% pk will be drilled before, during sowing time, and remaining will be given during the what do you say, the second important phase of the crop. So the critical period for weeds will be 30-45 days after sowing. Okay, so we know the important weeds of wheat here, like Phalaris minor or canary grass or Avena fechua, wild oat. And when it comes to sedges, we have Cyprus rotundus and esculentus, and broadleaf weeds like Chinapodium, Canulus and Argemon. So these are the important weeds which we usually find in wheat crop. So I have pictures here, Phalaris minor, fechua. You must have seen or collected these as well in your UG or PG also. And Argemon mexicana, Chinapodium. So this is a problematic, really problematic one in wheat crop. So weed management, we have something called like integrated weed management, right? We can include all the chemical method, biological method, entire, all the methods which we have, we can include all those. But when it comes to chemical nature, we have to, as a pre-emergent, we can use pendimethalin, and for post-emergent, we have this cladinophor propagil or sulfosulfuron, phonaxapropethyl. This can be used, and you can observe here, these are usually applied in terms of grams. Okay, so you can just go back to your weed management and see why they are applied only in grams, whereas others are applied in terms of kg. See here, pendimethalin is applied at the rate of 1 kg per hectare, whereas these sulfosulfuron, ureas, no, these are usually applied in grams. Okay, so you can just search why those are applied in grams and why rest other herbicides in kgs. Okay, and then coming to harvesting, so we have this yellow and dry straw, which is the indicator, and you must have seen, obviously that is a visual indicator we have. Then breaking of spikes will be there, and most suitable stage is of grain moisture is about say 20-25%. So that is the most suitable for that. And for the storing of these cereals, no, at least minimum moisture content should be about say 12-13%. That is maximum. We have to store the grains at that moisture content. So combined harvesters are used, and we have other manually harvested or reapers we have that can be used. And this Perling index, some few problems or numericals can be asked with this Perling index. So what is it actually? It tells about the hardiness of the grain, which is mainly meant for say biscuit making. So that is very important in such industries, biscuit industries. Okay, so seeds stored at 12% moisture content are good. Otherwise, if the moisture content is more, means obviously we have the attack of pests and diseases, and that will deteriorate the quality of the grain. All right, so and to measure the hardiness, that this index we usually use Perling index. So that hardness of the grain will be measured here. So that goes like initial sample weight X means, and Y is the weight of the material left after 30 mesh sieve. So after sieving it, what is the weight of the material that is left here? So this is the formula which is used, and numerical can also be asked from this part. So that was all about the wheat crop. I just covered it in very short cut, but that is a really wonderful crop, and so much to learn about wheat crop. All right, so now let's just go with the barley crop. And when you study about the different insects or the pest diseases, we have like leaf rust, stem rust, right? Stripe rust and so many other smuts as well. So we have to go through those diseases as well, pest as well. So I did not cover the pest and diseases there. So you can just refer, because it is too much to cover in just one single lecture. So now coming to this barley, as we know, the botanical name goes like Hordeum vulgare, belongs to the Poaceae family. Just a second. Excuse me. Sir, how do I reduce the size of these icons? ओके, डिलेड सोइंग इज लेट सोइंग. अगर आप लेट सो करते हो, अगर उसका टाइम अक्टूबर में है, अगर आप दिसंबर में सो कर रहे हो तो वो डिलेड सोइंग है ना. सो दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ डिलेड सोइंग. ओके, insect pest, yes, that is a important portion, but that's really impossible for me to cover the entire thing in just one lecture, guys. So I did not cover the pest and diseases here. Okay, so can anybody tell me the difference between a barley and wheat? What is the basic difference here? Basic difference or the morphological difference between wheat and barley. The plant looks similar, but what is the major difference we find between barley and wheat? Okay, we shall discuss it later anyway. All right. So barley is also one more important rabi crop, a rabi cereal. So origin we can say Abyssinia, and we have different types of barley: hulled type, on type, onless type, hooded type. So like that we have different types which we will be talking about. So this some say that Abyssinia is the one, and some say that Southeast Asia, particularly China, Tibet and Nepal as the center for this origin of hulless barley. Okay, so what is the importance of this barley crop? So everybody must be aware of this. Barley is specially used for brewing, especially used in brewing industries for preparation of malt, beer and other alcoholic beverages. So there barley is mostly used. So this is a major source of food in cooler semi-arid parts. Okay, and staple food crop in Tibet, Nepal and Bhutan, and important food crop in higher altitudes. So the flour of this barley is used for making chapatis along with wheat flour and gram flour. It is used as misri roti. Okay, used for preparation of a misri roti as well. Okay, so can you tell me what is the protein that we find in wheat and which is not present in barley? Barley is also the same kind of cereal only, but we cannot use barley for biscuit preparation and other food bakery items. Why it is that? Why we cannot use barley? Yes, gluten, because of gluten, that's right. So gluten we find in only wheat, we do not find it in barley. So because of that gluten only, this wheat will be given the texture which is required and the fluffiness or softness, just like sponge we find in bread now. So that is only given by the wheat and not we do not find it in barley. So that is why barley cannot be used for biscuit or bread preparation. And also this is used for malt, beer, whiskey and industrial alcohol and other vinegar. So mainly used in malt and brewing industries, so this we know. So grain is broken and ground into pearl barley to be used in soup. So pearl barley means that grain will be just like wheat, only little plumpy in nature, but the ends of the barley grain will be broken, and that we call it as a pearl barley. So that can be used for soup preparation. So excess grain is used as cattle feed and horse feed. Medicinal value also it has, used for biscuit making, but we do not find that fluffiness as we find in wheat. So protein protein about 11%, carbohydrate, fat, fiber, ash we can find. So the coming to the classification of barley, so based on the number of rows. Okay, so number of rows we have this different types of barley: 6-row barley, 2-row and irregular barley. 6-row, that is Hordeum vulgare, and 2-row barley Hordeum distichum, irregular barley Hordeum irregular. So of this, only the 6-row barley is most commonly cultivated type. So somebody asked me why only 6-row barley is cultivated in the country. See, first of all, farmers in our country are marginal and small farmers. So 6-row barley means all the florets, all the 6 florets in that spike, no, that will be fertile and they give grain. If 2-row barley, if the farmer wants to cultivate also, he will not get the required amount of profit out of it. Obviously farmers will not prefer that, right? And also sometimes the weather condition or soil condition may not suit as well. So there are various reasons as such, but I find that that is more important. Farmers prefer profit out of everything. So why it is called as a 6-row barley or 2-row barley? See, in a floret, so these pictures, no, this is from the upside, you can imagine this spike, when you are you can visualize from the top of that spike. If you are standing and looking at the spike from the top portion of that spike, no, you will find how it is actually. So 2-row barley means only 2 florets will be fertile, rest will be sessile, those are sterile. Okay, so they do not produce any grain. Whereas 6-row barley, we have all the 6 florets fertile. Okay, so 6 fertile means excuse me guys. Okay, so 6-row barley, we have all the 6 florets which are fertile in nature, and that give all the grains, I mean fertile grains we get out of it. Okay, so here again I have a picture of this 2-row, and what is the difference between the grain size as well. So 2-row barley means, since here as I told you only 2 florets will be fertile and rest 4 will be sterile here, so these 2 florets will be having more space to grow enough. Whereas in 6-row barley, what happens is they have very less space to grow plumpy in nature, so they'll be a little slender when compared to 2-row barley here. So you can see here this 2-row barley, it is usually plump because it has more space and symmetrical shapes will be there, and the creases, they'll I mean from top to bottom it will be this gap or the furrow, we call it as a crease. So this we can find here. Okay, and these are slightly wrinkled and thinner skin they have. And 6-row barley is characterized by irregularly shaped kernel because they have very less space to grow in the spike, and the creases is approximately 2/3 of the kernel in 6-row barley, and they are twisted. Okay, and 6-row barley skin is usually thicker and the veins are usually more prominent than the 2-row barley here. So these you can these are the 6 florets or 6 spikelets here of 6-row barley, and these are the 2 spikelets of 2-row barley. So the second, coming to the classification based on the awns. So awn type we have. In awn type there are 2 types again, smooth type and rough type. Okay, so here smooth awn means, you can look at the picture here, the awns will be very soft, you can just imagine like a feather. Whereas this rough type means which is really hard, which will be really hard. Awnless or hooded type, I have a picture here, so you can see here. Awn means we will be having these awns. Okay, here you can see awn. Awnless means there won't be any extension from the lemma part of it, and then we have hooded type. This is just like a hood, or the a sweater when we air, no, that will be having a cap, so that we call it as a hood. Just like that, awn will be modified into hood like structure there. So these are the different types we find in barley. So third classification is based on the adherence of chaff to the grain. Chaff is the outer covering of the grain. Okay, so husked or hulled chaff is adhered to grain. Adhered means sticky to the grain. And hullless or the naked, where chaff is not adhered to the grain here. Those grains are naked in nature. So these are the different classification there. So again, when we talk about the area production productivity, we have it is grown in many different countries. So when it comes to India, we have very less area under barley. So this is the data of, I guess, 2019 and 20. So it is now if we find any recent advanced estimates of area production productivity, then we can see that area will be little more than this whatever I have given here. But the major producing states are Rajasthan, UP, MP, Haryana and Himachal. And climatic requirement, it is just like wheat, what we just discussed, that cool climate during the vegetative stage and more warm and dry climate during the later stages of the plant. So that is enough, and requires around 12 to 15 degrees Celsius during the entire stage, around 30 degrees Celsius. And then rain at time of ripening causes discoloration of the grain, and it is not good for malting or seeding. And this crop possesses a high degree of tolerance to drought and sodic condition. So when we compare this crop to wheat, we can say that this is more tolerant to sodic condition but not acidic condition. Yes, so tolerant to salinity and alkalinity, but it is sensitive to acidity. And being salt tolerant, best substitute for sodic soil, this we know already. So the drained, fertile, deep loam soil with pH of 7 to 8, neutral pH is enough for the crop. But the crop which is grown in high nitrogen, that will lodge, obviously, because of the higher amount of vegetative growth, obviously the plant will lodge, right? So seed rate, if it is a irrigated condition, then 100 kg per hectare. Then if it is rain fed, 80 to 100 kg. Spacing remains just like for wheat, 22.5 centimeter for irrigated and about 25 centimeter for rain fed. And depth of sowing, just like wheat, about 5 centimeter. If it is rain fed, little deeper. Okay. And morphology, as I told you, just like wheat only thing is the parts of plant where legule auricles will be there, no? So that is quite different in barley when compared to other cereals. So vegetative portion is similar to other cereals, except auricles are conspicuous, that means easy to notice. I have a picture to show you. So when we compare this wheat, barley and oat, we can say that in barley these what do you say, auricles and legules, these are easily noticeable, but in case of wheat, those are underdeveloped actually. And roots fibrous, as we know this, and seminal roots in the vegetative stage and adventitious root in the later part. And tillering will be 2-rod barley tillers more profusely than 6-rod barley. Barley leaf blade is much longer than the wheat leaf blade, and rest is similar to wheat. So here is the part you can see here. Wheat, this is the leaf sheath. Okay, the lower part of this is leaf sheath and the upper part will be leaf blade. So at where this leaf sheath and leaf blade combine and they this leaf blade falls off from the stem, there we will be we can notice the parts like auricles and ligule. Okay, so this auricles here and the ligule is the central part. So here you can see auricles, those are not in wheat, it is not really well developed. We can find these are not crossed to each other, these two auricles. Okay, but in case of barley, you can see here auricles are really well crossed, and leaf color also changes, but we have so many different varieties nowadays and that may change again. So I do not want to talk about the leaf color here, but the morphologically when we talk about, we can say here these auricles are not very easily noticeable in case of wheat crop, but in case of barley we can see them very easily, as well as the ligule also. But in case of oat, you can see here we do not find the prominent ligules or the auricles here. Okay, so again the same stages just like the wheat, so I'm not taking much time on that. And then the season coming rain fed crop before end of October or first week of November, so that is the time. If it is irrigated, then we can sow it in first or second week of November. If it is late sown, up to December we take it up. And seed rate, irrigated 75 to 100 kg. If it is a rain fed, then we have about say 80 to 100 kg. If it is saline soil, again 100 kg per hectare. And spacing we follow for irrigated crop 23 centimeter just like wheat, and rain fed crop 23 to 25 centimeter. And depth of sowing for irrigated 5 centimeter, whereas rain fed crop we have 6 to 8 centimeter depth. And land preparation, since it is a shallow rooted crop, so light texture, fine bed is required for the crop. Okay, so one plowing and then 2 to 3 harrowings is enough for the crop. So seed treatment, usually we treat with Captain Thyram or Baviston. In case of saline and rain-fed areas, so soaking the seeds and then treating the seeds can also help over there. Fertilizer, then when it comes to irrigated crop, we have 60 30 20. For malt production, we have to apply less nitrogen, 30 20 20. So this you should remember in case of barley. When we are producing barley for malt production alone, we have to apply less nitrogen. Okay, because otherwise when we apply more nitrogen, that will increase the protein content in the plant. If that protein content is increased, that is not suitable for the malt production. That's why. And rain-fed, it is about 40 20 20, and the rest remains the same, like 50% during the basal nitrogen, and rest 50% will be applied during the later stages. All right, so water management, it requires less amount of water when compared to wheat. Wheat requires 600 to 700 mm or 60 to 70 centimeter of water for its life cycle, whereas barley requires very less amount of water, 200 to 250 plant, since it is a hardy crop. Okay, and then following are the critical stages for irrigation. So seedling or the sprouting, tillering, flag leaf, milking, and among all these, tillering stage is very important, most crucial here. Okay, so 30 days, first 30 days or 30 to 40 days is the critical one here. Again, just like wheat, what we follow, we can follow for barley as well. So harvesting is the same, just like how we harvest the wheat crop. Similarly, it is harvested in case of barley. So now let me talk about a little about barley malting. So malting, we know that is the sprouting and drying a grain seed, that is barley grain. So malt is nothing but the enzyme preparation that is obtained from barley, which has been softened by a series of steeping processes and germinated under controlled condition. So that is a preparation of enzyme. Malting means it is the preparation of enzyme which is required for the beverage production. So that it will undergo different processes like steeping. Steeping means soaking the seeds in the water, and then the seeds will germinate, and then these will be dried, and then that can be used for this one. Okay, threshold level of salinity, I can say it can tolerate around say 12 decisiemens per meter, as far as I remember. Okay, I had read somewhere about the salinity. Ploidal level, it is again depends, it is a hexaploid. Okay, so these three steps are there in malting. So let me just show you the different types here. So during steeping, as I told you, that water will be absorbed in the barley grains and that seed become plumpy. Okay, steeping means soaking the seeds in water, so that is the meaning. So in 40 to 48 hours, that will be submerged, drained. That process will continue, submerging, draining. So that moisture content will be 12% at the start before steeping the barley seeds. So that will move to 44%. Okay, and then the absorbed water will activate the enzyme and it will stimulate the embryo to develop new enzyme. So enzyme activation is the important part when we go for this barley preparation. All right, so that moisture content from 12 to 44%, when moisture content is increased, obviously the enzyme activation will be enhanced in the seed. So that's how enzyme preparation will be enhanced, and then that will give good malt. Okay, so these are the plumpy seeds which are soaked. Okay, and then the germination as we know, so that is a that will break the seed coat and the plumule and radicle will come out of it, right? So modification here refers to breakdown of protein and carbohydrates, and they result in opening up of the seeds starch reserve here. Okay, so good modification requires the barley to remain in the compartment for 4 to 5 days. So you can see here the development of the seed. So this is the starting point, we can say. The grain is just plumpy or it is soaked, and then we can see the germination starting here, plumule and radicle coming out. So here you can see the natural barley and then steeped barley and then the germinated barley. So germination we can see here. So then the drying. So why drying? Because see, when once the germination starts, now if we keep on providing water, that will grow into plant ultimately, right? So we have to avoid that germination. So we do not want the entire plant to come out of it. We just want the sprouting of the seed. So that's all we require. So that's why this drying is done. So germination is halted by drying. So if at all, as I told you, if germination is continued, obviously it will conserve all the starch reserves which is present in the seed, and ultimately that will grow into a plant, and that starch or the enzyme will not be available for the malt production. That's why this drying process is done. So which type of barley we have to choose for malt production? So that it should be plumpy, medium of and good quality. So the seeds having 1.2 to 1.5% of nitrogen, it should not be more. As I told you, protein content will be more, and that will destroy entire process of malting. So protein content should not be increased more. That's why nitrogen content we should keep as much as less. Okay, and then timely sown crop should be there. We should not have a late sown crop or medium sown crop. No, it should be timely sown crop and not from well fertilized soil. As I told you, nitrogen we should not provide it completely. We have to avoid it. All right. So in wheat I could not cover the pest, but I have very few important pests for barley here. Termites are important. Aphid, that is Raphalosyphum maidis, that is a root aphid. You can read in few texts pink root aphid also it is called as, and vector is yellow dwarf disease. This aphid is a vector for this yellow dwarf disease. So you can see here. And then diseases, that is smut, loose smut or covered smut, you can find specially. So loose smut Ustilago hordi, which is internally seed borne. So you can see here covered smut. So that gives a awful color, and also the black colored powder will be found in place of these grains. So that also be should be avoided. So these are two, I mean, one important pest, and these are important disease. And this molia disease, Heterodora avena, this is a nematode affecting disease. So that affects the roots especially of the barley crop. Okay. So now we could cover this two important crops here. Now let me talk about the millet. So as I was asking you, what is the basic difference between a cereal and a millet? So whatever you told were all right points. I was asking in terms of morphological differences. So in cereals, what happens is we usually find that the seed coat and the pericarp are different. Those two are different layers on the seed, pericarp and the seed coat. But in case of millets, what happens? This pericarp and the seed coat will be fused together and they form only single layer. So that's why we usually find the size of the millet will be less when compared to the cereals. Okay, so that answer I was expecting actually. Okay, so we know these millets and the cereals, they belong to the same family Poaceae. As just because of those morphological differences, we call it with the different names here. So when we talk about the millets, we know that we have bajra and then the ragi, and these five important what do you say, minor millets we have. Okay, so minor millets, why do we call them as minor millets? Why not a major millets? And what do you understand by coarse millets, or the what is that? I want to know a little. So before I just enter into these crop production technologies, I want to know why these are called as minor millets. Guys, come on, let's just discuss. Okay, please don't think that this is just one way conversation. We can have a discussion. You can talk to me, you can ask me. Yes guys, I just got one answer. Area production is less. Okay, all right. So minor millets we call them because
water requirement is less.
Yes, correct. What else?
That's why it's called as minor millets.
Okay, so these minor millets, no, we usually have less area as you told, and also these require less amount of water. And in India, these minor millets have very less area when compared to rest all other crops. Earlier, these crops were important, but since we have important cereals nowadays, oilseeds we have, commercial crops we have, so these all crops have covered the place of these minor millets, and people do not prefer to eat this. Even we know the healthy benefits of these minor millets, people do not try to or want to consume these millets, because since everybody want to have a tasty food, we usually concentrate on the taste rather than the healthy benefits of the other cereals. We can also prepare rice out of all these millets, but these are not consumed usually. Okay, so these five are called as minor millets, and rest two like pearl millet and ragi, we call them major millets, since those are cultivated much more in a higher or larger area when compared to this minor millets. Okay, so there is nothing much to talk about the minor millets, since these are very simple crops. Only thing is the processing of this minor millets, no, it is very difficult when compared to other crops, since the seeds will be very less, and separating or the threshing part is such a laborious work. That's why farmers usually avoid these crops. Okay, so let's just talk about this. Okay, so nomenclature is very important in terms, or you can say when it is required for your examination point of view, we can say the names are really important. So then different names are given here. So let's just give me a second, guys. Okay, sorry. So the botanical names are given here, and the English names are also given here. So we know the foxtail millet or the Italian millet, and the name botanical name is Sataria italica, and codo millet is Paspalum scrobiculatum. Little millet is Panicum miliare. Miliaceum also you can find in some text, or proso millet or common millet or broom corn millet, it is called as Panicum miliaceum. And then we have barnyard millet, that is Echinoclova frumentaceae, and rest other language, whatever the language you want to know. So if at all, if you are preparing for JRF and SRF, it is better to know the Hindi name as well. So that is also important. They sometimes ask for English name, common names, and they ask for Hindi names as well. So this is the nomenclature part. So I was telling you why it is underutilized. So we know from 1950 it was around 4 times more area under minor millets, but in 2000 and later on, later that stages, that cultivation has been very less. Also the productivity is less in minor millets, around only 450 kg per hectare. No farmer want to have the less productivity or earn less profit out of his land, right? So this because of so many reasons as well. The use of these grains for consumption being confined to rural areas as of semi-arid tropics because of the drudgery involved in processing. As I told you, threshing process is really laborious in case of minor millets, so that's why farmers try to avoid. They want a simpler cultivation, they want to have a simpler processing process as well. So if it is involving so much of difficulty or laborious work, obviously farmer do not wish to go for the cultivation of such crop. Though these minor millets are gaining demand in today's market, it is not really possible. Okay, and then non-availability of post-harvest processing machinery, obviously, and then lesser importance for value addition and marketability. So nowadays you may find in especially when we go for organic farming, no, organically produced millets have so much of demand in market, and but even though we have good demand, farmers do not prefer to grow these minor millets. Productivity is less, profit is less out of it, and making or adding value to that particular crop, it also takes so much of energy there, so they do not prefer it. So it is these millets are cultivated, I mean these are under cultivation only in case of in few parts of our country, MP, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand. So these are the states you can find where we can find these millets. All right, so why these small millets are important? So as you told, these are more nutritious than cereals. We find more protein, we can find more fat, we can find more carbohydrate as well. So these are really nutritious when compared to cereals. And eco-friendly crops, these are adaptable to diverse soils and varied rainfall regimes and suitable for fragile and vulnerable ecosystem. These have shorter duration and these have less water requirement, and negligible pest and disease incidence is there, very less incidence we can find, and good shelf life and sustain precious agro biodiversity. So here is a comparison of different crops. Okay, different crops and their moisture or the protein content. So if you want to have this, you can take a screenshot, or later I'll just send you the PPT if you want to have this. Okay, so you can see here proso millet, foxtail, kodo, little barnyard when compared to wheat. Okay, moisture content. And about the protein content, we know among cereals this wheat is higher. We also have this proso millet and foxtail millet, which have also good amount of protein in them, and fat, carbohydrate also, calcium. Especially this ragi is meant for higher amount of calcium. So when it comes to this what you say, minor millets, you can find, you can see here calcium is little more when compared to these cereals. All right, and phosphorus similarly, and mineral matter, iron, and bio value of protein content also you can find the barnyard and little millet. So this vast knowledge about the protein content or the carbohydrate content of minor millets when we compare with the cereals, that is also important in terms of your exam. Okay, so as I told you, the cultivation part is really simple. They do not require more water, they do not require more fertilizer, they can grow anywhere. Okay, they can grow anywhere and everywhere, like that you can remember. So the cultivation part we do not have to worry much here, but the morphology of all these crop remains just like wheat, what I explained. The leaf blade, the leaf sheets, roots, everything remains in except the crown root initiation. So that is crown root is only meant for wheat and barley. Rest all other cereals or the millets have same morphology. Okay, so this Italian millet or the foxtail millet, why I am giving multiple names, you know, when I wrote JRF, my JRF exam, no, one of, I guess it was asked for Bajra, the another name, Balrush millet, something like that it is there. So it is asked. So multiple names of those minor millets also important. So I just gave you the multiple names here. So it is a rain-fed crop. It can be cooked like rice and flour used in different forms of chapatis, and it contains protein, fat, and just what I showed you in the table, it is given in the text here, that's all. So straw is thin stemmed and it is liked by cattle, and it is and remember guys that these what do you say, minor millet straws are not really fed to horses. Horse cannot feed on these stems, minor millets. Okay, so cattle we can give, but not for horses. In China it is important food next to rice and wheat. So you can see how important it is. Foxtail millet, so since the panicle is just like the tail of a fox, that's how the name is like foxtail millet. Okay, all right. Okay, so origin is China. Most of the minor millets, they have origin of China. Okay, and distribution, it is widely distributed in many parts of the world, but India, China, Pakistan, these parts, no, these are more influenced by these crop than the other part of the world. And African also, to some extent, Africa is also important in case of this minor millet. So in India, it is cultivated in Karnataka, Andhra, Madhya Pradesh, and then Uttar Pradesh. So soil, as I told you, it can grow anywhere. So poor soils, but because fertile soils, red loams, alluvial, black cotton soils are suitable. Best on rich, well-drained loam. Okay, so it can be grown up to 2000 meter of altitude. Moderate temperature with 50 to 75 centimeter, and water requirement is less. But they do not recover if at all long spell of drought is there. So though the water requirement is less, recovery is less after long spell of drought. Next, coming to this kodo millet, that is Paspalum scrobiculatum. So this is the coarsest food grain and highly drought resistant crop. It is immature and molded grains are poisonous. So The kodo millet, this is also avoided for horses. Okay, and we usually do not provide, just like sorghum, it will be having prussic acid, no, just like that. This kodo millet, we cannot feed it to cattle when it is immature, in immature stage. So we have to avoid that. Easily preserved and proves as a good famine reserve, and it is a substitute for rice for specially diabetic patients. And protein, the same thing, and it is originated in India, and it is distributed in Andhra, Maharashtra, Karnataka, especially southern states. So this is the kodo millet. And soil, grony, stony, upland, poor soils to loamy soil, but best on sandy loam to loamy soil. So rapid growth in warm and dry climate, rainfall of 40 to 50 centimeter is enough. So you can imagine that very less amount of water also it can tolerate, and it is highly drought tolerant. So even it can be grown in scanty and erratic rainfall. And then coming to the next one, that is common millet or the proso millet, Panicum millesium. It is evade drought by its quick maturity. It means it tries to complete its life cycle very quickly if at all there is occurrence of drought, and offers better prospects of intensive cultivation in dryland areas. And they have high protein, fat, carbohydrate, and it is rich in lysine, which we usually don't find in any of the cereals or the millets. But this proso millet is rich in lysine, and used as cooked grain flour for making chapatis, poultry feed, and it can be, the stock can be good fodder. So this is the proso millet. It is also originated from India. It is distributed in different parts: India, Japan, China, Egypt, Arabia. Okay, and in India it is MP, UP, Bihar. So that part of the country we can find this more. So well drained loam. This when it comes to millet, you can just remember well drained loam or sandy loam is much suitable for most of the millets. So there is nothing to repeat more after, like every time I have to repeat it. So rich in organic matter is ideal. So rich and poor soils between sandy loam to clay. So grown extensively in warm regions of the world, and highly drought resistance, it withstands water stagnation. So this and the barnyard millet, they can withstand waterlogging to some extent. So barnyard millet, that is Echinoclova frumentaceae, highly drought resistant, capable of withstanding waterlogging, and consumed like rice. And again the same thing, mostly eaten by poor class people, sometimes brewed for beer as well, and straws make good fodder for cattle. So this is the barnyard millet. Okay, originated from India, and it is very hardy plant. Barnyard millet is a hardy plant, it can survive anywhere. Okay, so in India it is specially grown in MP, UP, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Bihar. So these are the few particulars, like seed rate, seed treatment. So you can just compare all these, or you can take a screenshot if at all, if it is necessary for you. So drilling seed rate in terms of kg per hectare. So you can see very less seed rate is there, since even the seed weight or the test weight will be obviously less, since the seed size is low. So broadcasting and the seed treatment, sowing, spacing. So you can see here spacing for kodo millet is more when compared to rest all other millets. And then the broadcasting 10 centimeter between plants. Fertilizer FIM we apply, and then we go for NP. K is usually avoided since it does not respond well to the nutrient. We usually avoid it. Okay, and then the weeding, first and second weeding on 15 and 40th day. So first 15 days of the crops is important, critical stage for weed development. And then the thinning is done after weeding or before 20 days after sowing. So it is just like cereals, harvesting just like cereals only it is done. And grain yield, you can see when compared to cereals, the productivity is really less. In practical, I mean when it is done on field practically, we do not get this amount of yield for minor millets. It's very less, we usually get less. Okay, and coming to the last crop of today's discussion, that is oat. Since these all fall under the same category, so what I explained for wheat, it just remains same for almost all the crops here. So I'm not bugging you much, roaming around the beating around the bush here, like telling the same thing. So oat also belong to Poaceae family, Avena sativa. In our country, majorly used for fodder production, this wheat crop. Okay, so Avena sativa, we botanical name, important cereal as well as fodder crop. As I told you, in India it is mainly grown for fodder purpose and not for consuming, though we consume it very less, but mainly meant for fodder crop. Okay, it is grown in temperate and subtropical climate. It can survive well in high altitude tropics as well. Oatmeal is very famous food, and oat is rich in proteins and fiber, and they also help in weight loss. Excuse me. So controlling blood pressure and for building strong immune system, this oat can be consumed. So soil and the climatic requirement, they remain same for wheat, this barley and oat. So there is nothing, no much difference in cultivation practices for these crops. Okay, so temperature about 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, rainfall about 80 to 100 mm is enough for it. It can be cultivated in all kinds of soils, but well-drained loamy soil is much suitable for grain purpose. If it is a fodder purpose, then also it is okay. And pH range for 5 to 6.6 is optimum, and it can tolerate high pH level than barley and wheat. So it is done through seeds, as we know it, and it can tolerate higher pH, as I told you, and seed rate of about 60 kg per hectare for grain purpose. If it is for a fodder purpose, 80 to 100 kg is the seed rate requirement, and seed treatment is usually treated with Captain or Thyram for just to avoid these fungal and pathogenic diseases. And when it comes to fodder purpose, no, the spacing is not really followed, because in fodder we usually go for broadcasting of the seeds, right? So spacing is not followed in fodder crops. That's why the seed rate is more in case of fodder crop. And when it reaches say like 50 to 55 days, so that is the time for first cutting of fodder crop. Okay, but if it is grown for grain purpose, obviously the entire life cycle has to be completed. But when it comes to fodder purpose, that first cut will be taken at during 50 to 55 days after sowing. Okay, and good nitrogen is given in case of fodder oat, but in case of grain oat, that is just like any other cereal, we provide the recommended one. Okay, and weed management is not really necessary if the crop stand is good. Okay, weeds are anyway less in case of oat. Okay, and 1 to 2 hoeing can be taken up. So these are mainly cultivated as rain-fed crop. But if it is grown as a irrigated crop, then two irrigation should be given at say 25 to 28 days interval from sowing. Okay, so that was all about my lecture. So maybe, sir, I think I finished early today. So guys, we have a little time. So if you have any questions, we can have a good discussion now.
Okay. If participants having any query or question, you can directly ask to the madam. I will unmute you. You only raise your hand.
Among the participants, if anybody having any query, they can ask directly to the speaker.
Okay, T. Lokesh, you can ask your question.
Hello, excuse me, madam.
Yes.
Ma'am, what are Kharif crop or Rabi crop, ma'am?
Rabi crop. It's a Rabi crop.
Yeah, it is not possible to cultivate in Kharif, ma'am.
It is not like not possible. See, if it is used for fodder purpose, it can be grown in Kharif also, it can be grown in summer also, but the yield will be less when compared to Rabi crop. Okay, if it is a grain crop, then it is better to grow in Rabi season only.
Madam, what grains usage?
Sorry?
What grains where they use it, ma'am?
Grains, see these oat grains, no, we find in market oat flakes we get, no, so grains are used for preparation of those flakes. Also oats are used sometimes for preparation of roti also. They are mixed with other flours, other wheat flours or barley flours, and they can be consumed like how we consume this chapatis and all, no, just like that we can consume oat as well.
There is any specific protein like that? That's what I'm asking.
No protein as such in oat, but it's good for health, like weight loss, and there is no much nutritious thing we find in it, but it helps in for diabetic people and for weight loss. That is the thing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you want to have my number. All right. I can provide you the number, but only thing is you should not bug me all the time. Okay, it's not like I cannot give you. I can give you my number. Okay. If you don't have any questions, I have question for you guys. Is that okay? I would like to ask a few questions.
Anybody from class want to say something?
I hope this lecture was helpful for you guys.
Yes, definitely, ma'am. We also learned many more things from you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I think if no any questions, you may please proceed.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So if you have no questions, then I'll go for questioning. Okay. See, as I told you, this conceptual based questions will be mainly asked. But in crops, when we go for no, we just go through cultivation and we avoid the morphological part, or say some calculation part, yield calculation or the seed rate calculation. I hope you are all aware of the seed rate calculation and yield calculation. I don't want to bug with that. So whatever I just covered right now, so I want to ask few questions from that only. Yes, Saurabh. So how to increase millet production than cereals? So can you come up with the ideas? What are your thoughts on this? I wanted to ask the same question to you since you asked me first. So I want to know your opinion. How can we increase the millet production than cereal? Is it possible, really possible in our country?
Saurabh, you can unmute yourself and talk if you have any ideas.
Any ideas? Yeah, this is a discussion platform, so you should not hesitate. Okay, so here everybody is to learn, so even I can learn from you guys, you can learn from me, we can learn from everyone, right? Okay. All right. Let me give my opinion on this question. See, since we know that millets have a good quality or a good good nutrition than the cereals. Even then, farmers do not go for cultivation because we find very less subsidies, or MSP we find very less, or whatever the marketing process, processing process, everything is very less when compared to cereal. Since the staple food crop of our country is rice and wheat, we cannot just say that I want to grow this, I want to eat this. It's not possible for everyone. Every farmer cannot do this. Even then, we can increase the area under millets. We can go for intercropping system with the millets, and the millets are really hardy crop. They can be grown in anywhere. I mean, any of the soil you can just put some seeds and they will come up with the minor millets. So we have to, as I told you, this pest and disease problem is very less in case of millet. So we can have the production, and also we have to get some better varieties as well. Without good varieties, it is impossible to feed such a huge population in the country. So we can list out so many what do you say points how to increase the production in case of millet, say like in institutional, or say like economical, or say like agronomic reasons. We can find so many things, but practically what is important, that really matters. Okay, so first one is we have to have variety, we have to have good schemes from the government to support the farmers who are growing these millets, and farmers should be given awareness about millets first, how this millet is important, how especially in today's world, how this is important, how it is supporting so many people with a good health, and organically if it is grown, then how it is different. How to differentiate millets and cereal crops. See, when if at all, if you are in a field and there is a bajra, or say sorghum, it just goes with the experience, guys. I cannot just tell you this is how you have to identify. It just goes with the experience. Morphologically, I told you how to differentiate between the millets and the cereals. Millets usually we find very smaller seeds when compared to cereals. All right, but rest other than that, when it comes morphologically, I told you that even the auricle ligules, that differs, and the plant also differs sometimes. So it goes with the experience. So that's all I can say about that.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, you told us that Perling index calculated by 30 mmcu, na?
Huh.
Where at the time of sieving, how they calculate, ma'am? Either upper portion or sieved portion, ma'am?
See, sieved portion, see what happens, wheat will be mixed, if at all there is some impurity with that. Okay. So if you want to find that Perling index, those grains should be hard enough to stay on the sieve. So the which is staying on the sieve, no, so that we take for calculation. The remaining impurity will pass through that. Yes, guys, any other questions? Can you give your ideas about zero tillage? Anybody about zero tillage and how it is really important in rice wheat cropping system? You can speak in Hindi as well, no problem. But please don't hesitate to speak up.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Private tillage operation completely avoided and secondary tillage operation restricted.
Okay.
And sowing,
Huh.
in sowing, seed placement, fertilizer application, and opening the furrow in one operation.
Okay. Okay. How it is important in rice wheat cropping system, zero tillage?
Because in
Why it is majorly followed in rice wheat system?
maximum residue are available, and in continuous puddling, ma'am, soil physical condition is damaging, so it improve our soil organic carbon as well as soil physical and biological properties.
Okay. See, okay, let me give you my opinion on zero tillage on rice wheat system. So rice we usually harvest by the end of October, like that, October, maybe first fortnight of November. So we know that when for rice we have puddled condition, the soil condition will be really poor, right? So when we want to have the good soil condition for wheat cultivation, at least 20 days are required, just to plow the soil again, just to make the soil really well prepared for the wheat crop, and requires so much of time, say like some 20 to 25 days required for land preparation alone. After, if we go for land preparation after harvesting the rice, that will time will be like say around November end or December. Then if you want to have wheat crop, the yield will be definitely affected. So to avoid that period, say 20 to 25 days, just to avoid that period, we go for zero tillage. That is, in the standing after harvesting rice crop, in between the rows of the rice crop only this wheat will be sown, so that there won't be delay in the time, and that soil, whatever, wherever that is grown, like what your friend just told, that only in the secondary operation will be done in the seed bed, right? So just to open the small furrow and put the seed, wheat seeds, and then that will be done. So time will be perfectly taken up for a wheat crop when we want to sow that. So that is main reason why we take up this zero tillage. Okay, so that is my thought on this. All right, so next question I have is there any loss or benefit? It is nothing like benefit or loss about hooded barley. Okay, see, awns, why awns are important? What is the function of an awn in the plant? Anybody? What is the function of an awn? Anybody? You can give your thoughts, guys. Grain dispersal and to avoid animals. Okay, that is one reason. Other than that, what might be the other reason why it is important? Helps in photosynthesis. That's right. All helps in photosynthesis. They store photosynthetes, and also just like what your friend told, that it will also avoid the animals. Okay, so that is the thing. That is the function of an awn. So when there is no awn, if it is a hooded, that also doesn't affect much about the grain. I guess hooded barley. Even I do not have much exposure about barley crop. Whatever I know, I'll tell you. So even if it is hooded barley, the yield will be not reduced that extensively. I mean, we can find the difference in the yield of an awned barley and hooded barley, but I don't find much of difference. I mean, this is what I told just now. This is based on the experiment which had been conducted in one of the institutes. So based on that, I'm telling you. So there won't be any difference. Only thing is, I guess these hooded barleys are less preferred for malt preparation. I have heard something like that, but I have not got any authenticated source about this. Why this hooded barley or awned barley is mainly preferred like that. So only this much I can tell you. Okay. Any other question, guys? Any other questions you have? So if you have no questions, see, whenever you are studying for crops, whoever is preparing for JRF and SRF especially, so just go through the cultivation practices and remember the basic. You cannot remember each and every crop with the proper numericals, say like spacing is 20 centimeter or spacing is 30 centimeter. No, just remember the generalized terms and calculation related to seed rate and this one, what do you say, yield calculation and the plant population calculation. Be thorough with those calculation, and sometimes some different types of cultivations will not questions can be found with that. Okay. Puddling means see, puddling is mainly done in rice crop, right? So puddling is plowing in the standing water. Okay. Are you comfortable with English, right? If you want me to explain in Hindi, I can explain you. Okay, for what reason foxtail millet is not good for horses? In minor millets, no, there is some poisonous chemical I had read somewhere, but I'm not sure enough for that. Okay, and that is not easily digestible. The stem of minor millets is not easily digestible by horses. I have read somewhere like that. Only that is the reason I know. Okay, and advantages and disadvantages of puddling. So see, rice, when we go for plowing in the standing water, if water is standing and we want to prepare the soil, that will become soft and then it will settle down, right? So that is puddling. So what is the advantage? Advantage means it will reduce the weed infestation, it will reduce the pest and disease infestation, and also it will reduce the percolation of the water in the soil. And the disadvantage, obviously the soil condition will be hampered so much that immediately after rice it is not possible to grow any other rain fed crop like that, because the soil condition will be really poor after puddling. See, what do you understand by impervious layer? Impervious layer means which will not allow any more water to infiltrate into the soil. Okay, so when we go for puddling, no, what happens, this soil will be continuously plowed and plowed and plowed, right? So the water which has to infiltrate into the soil, that will infiltrate enough. Okay, whatever the water, you must have seen or visited some rice field, that water will be always standing on the soil, right? So how it happens, whatever the amount of water which has to percolate into the soil, that will be percolated enough. After completely percolating, what happens, there won't be any more space in the inside the soil, or the pores which are empty enough to fill more water, there won't be any more pores inside the soil. That's how all the pores, when all the pores are completely filled inside the soil with water, then no more water can enter into the soil, right? So that's how that will become an impervious layer and no more water can infiltrate, and that's how the water will be standing on the puddled field. Okay, all right. Any other question, guys? Any other thing you want to ask, or I hope this was helpful for you. If no questions, sir, we can wind up.
Thank you, ma'am. The session was really terrific and more informative to our students. I think at least one from them will get this fellowship. This
Hopefully,
is our
sir.
success.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That will, yeah, that will be my part also.
Okay, Mr. Gule, please conclude the session.
Okay. So, ma'am, we are very much thankful to you on behalf of Agriculture Extension and Communication Department, PGI MPKV Rahuri, Within given a short period of time, it was not possible to cover all that crops and millets. But even then, you have very nicely taught that all things, because many times what happen, we have preparing for the usual questions, but the questions are asked in the exams are very different. As that way, you have focused on that such important question very nicely, and you have also explained syllabus for ICR, JRF, SRF, and different books and websites for that subject. Then in food crops, food values of cereals, and you have very nicely explained the wheat and barley crop, mainly in barley malting, because many times these questions are asked on the barley crop also in malting. In minor millets, we have covered all millets like foxtail millet, proso millet, kodo millet, pioneer millet, little millet, common millet, at all, and very at a very great way. And at last, you have also explained oat crop, and main important thing, that is the questions. You have very nicely discussed all questions critically, and definitely it will be helpful to our students who are preparing for the ICR and JRF examination. So thank you so much, ma'am, so one again for giving your valuable time and usual useful guidance to us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, definitely I can share you my PPT with you all. Okay, sir, I'll forward you the PPT. Please share with the students.
Yes, sure, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your valuable time. Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. It was great to interact with all the students. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you. Mr. Gule, please.